The DJ Duce Podcast.
Streaming on all platforms worldwide.
Stream now at djduce.com/podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the DJ Duce Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Duce. Welcome to a new episode. Appreciate everyone who tuned into the last episode, the first virtual AI rapper in the world. Quite crazy. What's his name again? FN Mika or something? Very crazy. So if you didn't check out that episode, make sure to check that out. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Like I said, we're on all platforms. I'm on Spotify, YouTube, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere. So look me up, the DJ Duce Podcast. In this particular episode, we're going to be talking about utility bills and the hidden costs and the fees. Now, I know a lot of people just pay their utility bills. They get the bill every month, they look at it, they see what's owed, and just pay it. They don't really glance at the back of the bill, they don't look at the surcharges, they don't look at the breakdowns. I guess a lot of people don't want to know what's back there, or a lot of people just don't bother to look at all. But in this episode, we're going to break that down and get into the logistics of what's on the back of these utility bills. What are you paying, what's actually in them. So it's going to be a good show. Like I said, make sure to like and subscribe this if you're on YouTube, Spotify. Make sure to follow us. Like I said, a lot more is coming. But back to the podcast episode. In particular with the utility bills, you can find a lot of hidden charges on pretty much every utility bill, ranging from your electricity, your water, your gas, even your sewer, your trash. I'm pretty sure there's something hidden on every bill. But today we're going to be focusing mainly on the water, the gas, and we might dive into sewer later on, depending on. But what got me focused on this and on this topic in general was back in August with a list of tweets, as you can see. I was going off in the back of August. I said every utility company charges their customers in some way, shape, or form to help upgrade their company's infrastructure. The charge is sometimes on your local bill labeled as a DSIC. That means System Improvement Charges and Distribution and Collection. Most of it's right on the bill. Sometimes it's not even hidden. Pretty soon, like I said, they're going to be charging this charge when you go to grocery shopping at Walmart. Pretty soon you'll be checking out. Okay, your grocery bill's $13.95. Oops, there's going to be an additional $4.95 charge to upgrade our shelves, to keep the freezers running at Walmart. So that's what's coming next, if people just keep paying this charge and not questioning or looking at the bills. I mean, they're just going to keep jacking on charges, and pretty much we're just going to be paying anything. I mean, you got to look at your bill. But back to the tweets. In Pennsylvania, Act 2-8 of 2006 gives states and local authorities the approval to shut off your water services at your property if the sewer bill is past due. If your sewer bill is based upon your water consumption, meaning there's no official meter attached to the sewer line to measure. So theoretically, if you use about 5,000 gallons a month of water, the entire 5,000 gallons of water is not going back into the sewer. I mean, unless you were directly feeding it in. You could sit here and drink a gallon of water, and you're not going to urinate a gallon of water. It just doesn't work like that. So there is no meter on the sewer at all, so they just go on your water consumption for the month. And this wouldn't be true theoretically, like I said, because if it wouldn't, you wouldn't get money off every time you filled up your swimming pool. So that's that. I mean, so keep that in mind when you're paying your water and your sewer bill every month. That if you're using, 5,000 gallons, for example, you're not using 5,000 gallons in the sewer. No way in hell. But they're still charging you as if you do. So tack that up in 10 years and see how much that comes up to. Moving on to the whole Columbia Gas situation. They're a whole nother entity in themselves. Listen to this clip from out of Philadelphia with the whole weatherization thing that they got going on with the bills. Take a look at this.
Philadelphia Gas Works now says a charge on customers' bill that they got recently was unfair, and PGW wants to make amends, but only if the state will allow it. Here's more.
At issue is what's called the Weather Normalization Adjustment Charge.
Philadelphia Gas Works customers can find it on their monthly bill.
What it does is supposed to kind of normalize the revenue so that the revenue remains stable depending on whether it's a colder winter or a warmer winter. So when a winter period of time is colder than normal, consumers may make out a little bit, may get a little bit of a credit. When it's warmer than normal, they may pay a little bit more.
And some PGW customers were charged more for their May usage than they expected.
It's astonishing.
Maria paid a $70 weather normalization adjustment on her last bill.
Never noticed it because it's a reasonable charge. It's always been, with one exception, it was always less than $10. I think one time it was $13.
This is usually a couple dollars, not the pretty significant increases that we're seeing with the June billing for the May time period.
On Wednesday, Pennsylvania consumer advocate Patrick Cicero told NBC 10 Response his department was investigating PGW's May billing cycle.
We've gotten complaints about it from consumers, and so we want to make sure that the weather normalization adjustment, that there wasn't an error in the calculation at first blush, and secondly, even if there wasn't an error, there's something wrong with this formula that if it's producing bills from the May time period that are, $70 to $100 higher than they ought to be.
Today, PGW announced while customers were billed properly, the utility thinks the charges are unfair to customers and it is uncomfortable with the resulting impact. PGW says it filed a petition with the Public Utility Commission to reverse the WNA charges for the month of May 2022. It will be up to the PUC to decide if credits can be given.
So there it is, the weather winterization, normalization, authorization, whatever you want to call it, a scam more or less to get the money back from the people for these companies just charging whatever they want to charge on these bills. And I looked into this. It really didn't start back until 2002, but people weren't really noticing it back then. I mean, you know how cheap electric and all that was back in the early 2000s? I mean, if there was a weather normalization charge on your bill back then, it could have been 50 cents, 85 cents, $1. You probably would have never noticed. And now all of a sudden, since everything has gone up and rates have gone up, now you're like, what's going on? The weatherization charge I seen on one woman's bill was higher than the service charge. Like, something don't seem right there. But take a look. Like I said, it's right on the back of your Columbia gas bill. Right on the back in the detailed charges, down in the section of the supply, it says right there, weather normalization adjustment. Weather normalization adjustment. I'm sorry, I keep wanting to say winter. But yes, every time they're basically during the winter, you get charged a difference based upon whether it's cold or not. So let's take a deeper look into what a weather normalization agreement and an adjustment, what exactly is that? So the weather normalization adjustment is a mechanical let me start over again. The weather normalization adjustment is a mechanic that adjusts the customer's bill to the variations from normal weather and temperature. For periods of the bill that are warmer than normal, a surcharge is applied to the bill. For the bill's periods that are colder than normal, a credit will be applied to the bill. WNA is effective for all usage during the months of October through May for customers with gas heat. So it says, what is the purpose of this weather normalization adjustment? It says the purpose of this WNA is to adjust the customer's service rates in order to reflect normal 30-year average weather conditions. Let me say that again. The purpose of this WNA is to adjust the customer's delivery service rates in order to reflect the normal 30-year average weather conditions. Delivery service rates for natural gas customers are designed based on volume sold under the normal weather conditions. It says since gas sales for space heaters are highly weather sensitive, deviations from normal weather conditions can cause large swings in revenue and earnings to the company. Let me repeat that one again. It says since gas sales for space heating are highly weather sensitive. Okay, so I guess space heating is sensitive to the weather. But anyway, it says since space heating is very sensitive to high weather sensitivity, whatever. Deviations from normal weather conditions can cause large swings in revenues and earnings to the company. Well, I mean, right there it is. It's involved in the company. If they don't charge this, the company's going to do without, and they're going to have to kick costs out of their pocket. And I guess we can't have that. So we gotta kick the cost back to the customers like always, huh? Well, look at this one down here. Question 5, it says, all our customers billed adjustments for changes for the normal weather. No, the adjustment only applies for Section 1, 2, 3, 4, and 17 customers who are coded in our system as gas heating customers. What does that mean? Well, I went online and tried to look, and I couldn't find no clarification whatsoever, so hopefully down the road I touch back on this and I call Columbia Gas, and maybe they can provide some explanation as to what is Section 1, 2, 3, 4, and 17 customers, and what are the differences, and why isn't everyone charged this weather normalization adjustment? Why only certain customers? Another rules for thee, not for me scenario yet again. I guess you gotta love it. But let's keep it rolling right here. Now, back in that video clip we just watched with the PWG overcharging people in Philadelphia, and it was up to the Philadelphia PUC or the PAPUC to adjust it, I guess, to make the rates lower or give them some money back because they were all charged an arm and a leg last winter. It definitely happened. So PWG proposes to cap its weather normalization charge to prevent future billing mayhem. This was reported last week, August 16th, 2022, from the Philadelphia Inquirer. It says, Philadelphia Gas Works wants to cap its monthly weather normalization adjustment to prevent excessive charges that cause thousands of heating customers to get massive bills after an abnormally warm May. The city-owned natural gas utility has asked the PUC to quickly approve the change, which would cap the weather normalization charge at no more than 25% of customers' monthly daily charges. Wow, so these people were getting charged over 25% of what your daily charge was. So add that math up. The delivery charge account for the portion of the typical resident bill, so the cap effectively limit the weather charge to a fraction of the total bill. Some PUG residents, customers in June got bills in excess of $200 for May usage, including weather charges that were more than 5 times their normal monthly delivery charges. Some commercial customers got hit with charges of about $500. So basically, if it's colder than what it should be, your bill's going to be fine. But if it's warmer than what it's supposed to be, you're going to get charged astronomical rates, I guess, because the gas company feels, oh, it's warmer out, they're not going to need to use that much gas. Quick, we got to figure out the way to make money. So they got you there. The weather normalization adjustments, which has been in place for more than 20 years, again, I found it was started back in 2002, at least in Pennsylvania, so might have variated throughout the different states, but Pennsylvania started back in 2002. So the WNA, which has been in place for 20 years, allows the gas company to stabilize its finances by adding or crediting dollars to customers' bills when the weather weather diverges from historical averages. When it's warm, as it was in May, it allows PWG to boost customer bills to generate more revenue so we can upgrade our infrastructure. PWG is the only one of the 2 Pennsylvania gas utilities that has this weather charge. The other utility company, you're asking? Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania. How amazing is that? In a report Monday on the PUC's website, PWG said the excessive charges were a result of an unprecedented warm weather patterns in May, and not a problem with the underlying formula that it uses to calculate the charges to each of its customers. I mean, right then and there, it's an underlying problem if every May is above normal and everyone's getting charged astronomical rates because the weather decided they want it to be warm. How do you justify that? So the weather decides to be warm and everyone's going to suffer and have to pay the cost, I see. Interesting. PWG, as a nonprofit municipality utility, said that the weather charge is essential to PUG's financial health. Am I reading that? Financial health, more or less. Yes. and wanted to keep the mechanism in effect. The usage of the cap of the WNA to each bill is a straightforward solution that utilizes while keeping the WNA otherwise intact, the company said in its filing. What a ripoff. They're just socking us dry. So, if it's warm next May, you're going to be getting capped pretty hard on your weather normalization. I mean, your bill might be cheap, but 25%, and that's a cap for Philadelphia, so that ain't Columbia Gas, so look out the rest of Pennsylvania. Moving along, the distribution service charge, the DSIC, which you find mostly on your water bill, you're going to love this. The DSIC, the Distribution System Improvement Charge, that has been going on for 20 years, just about the same time as all the other charges kicked in. As you can see, this article here by American Infrastructure Mag, posted back last week, August 16th. To give you the breakdown without going into too much detail, you can read it up there on screen if you're a reviewer. Basically, the DSIC is for you to improve the water system's pipes, infrastructure, and anything to do with plumbing and sewage, more or less. So that's that in a nutshell. So I seen, like, on my bill, for instance, at the York Water Company, the DSIC ranges anywhere from, I seen it as cheap as like 89 cents, and it flexed to like $2. Don't know how it's calculated, how it's abbreviated. I looked on the website, couldn't find any real solid breakdowns. I know that it said it's capped at 7.5% for water bills and 5% for waste bills. But it just don't make sense then why my water bill is staying the same rate and the DSIC is still charging. So I guess that percentage just fluctuates whenever it wants. Gotta love that. Okay, and finally, we're moving on to the last but not least, MedEd. You gotta love MedEd. I mean, just look at MedEd's customer billing. Customer charge distribution, we got customer education charge. Customer education charge. If you thought a distribution charge wasn't bad. So on MedEd in particular, you're getting charged for distribution charges for the use of local wires, transformers, substations, and other equipment used to deliver electricity to end customers from high voltage transformer lines. So if I build an electric company and I buy all the power lines, make my own transformers, distribution charge to all my customers. Yep, you pay for all my infrastructure, you peasants. I'm going to keep on building, and you're going to keep on paying. Moving along, customer charge, a monthly basic distribution charge to cover costs for the building, meter readings, equipment, maintenance, and advanced metering when in use. So, yeah, you're paying a customer charge. Isn't that great? State adjustment surcharge, a charge for credit or electric rates to reflect changes in various state taxes, including your bill. Oh, great charge. Customer education charge, you gotta love this one. A monthly charge for ongoing customer education concerning your bill shopping for electricity, energy efficiency, and conservation. Whoa. So, you gotta charge and be paid now. You wanna learn something, peasant? Give me some money. And then, of course, generation charge, transformation charge, how much you're being charged kilowatts per hour. I mean, the list is endless of just all these charges on these bills. I mean, we can sit here for a whole 3 hours and just dive into hidden charges, how they started, but you get the point, and it's just only going to get worse if people don't realize what they're paying and they just blindly keep on paying their bill and don't question. They don't ask questions. They don't want to know why they're being charged that, and then out of that, we get more charges. So, gotta love that. So, in the midst of all that, in the midst of being scammed, in the midst of paying out millions and millions of dollars in 50 years from all the companies upgrading their infrastructure, what can you do to save money? Well, you guessed it. Use less, peasant. Yep. That's what the Klaus Schwab and the WEF want you to do. Eat bugs, be happy, and use less. But all jokes aside, the best thing you can do is just be mindful in what utilities and what instruments, household items, and washers, dryers, what appliances you're using. Here's a common household item wattage. This is just a roundabout example of the wattages that you're using in your house. So add it up. You got the microwave oven running. Maybe you got a light bulb or two in the kitchen running. You got your dishwasher running. Coffee maker running. Just look at those wattages. Coffee maker, 1,200 watts to run that coffee maker. I hope it is worth that caffeine. And you know, the big ones, of course, the electric dryer, 3,400 watts, and that's just astronomical on the electric bill. Your oven range, if you have an electrical oven range, you're socking out on that too. And that isn't your water heater if you have one. You know what I mean? Dishwasher, like I said, computer, hair dryer is another salty one. So you got to just be mindful of the household appliances that you use in these times, because the electric's going to keep going up, the gas is going to keep going up, the water is going to keep going up, everything's going to keep going up. It's just how it works, you know, with this inflation and everything just keeps dragging on. It's just going to keep getting more expensive, and the average person's wallet is just going to keep on shrinking. So keep that in mind. But I thank you, everyone, for tuning into this podcast. Remember, like, subscribe, share, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Let me know in the comments, are you seeing these charges on your bills? Are you getting hit astronomically with percentages of said charges? Like, what's going on? I know rates and everyone changes, and people have different energy suppliers, which I don't even like that. You're paying an energy supplier, a third party, but MedEd still owns the electric lines. So how are you supplying me electric? Oh, that's right. You're going to supply it cheaper for me for a few months, and then in mid-year, my electric bill is going to be 3 times the rate that it was with the regular supplier. I see how that works. But again, thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next podcast episode.